Let's go.
Welcome, everyone, to a very, very special episode of the EmpowerMAN podcast. It's your boy, Mikey G, coming to you live from the very, 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 very free state of Florida. And we have a very special guest with us that we're going to introduce in one sec. But as customary on the EmpowerMAN podcast, I would like to introduce the man who doesn't deny elections, but is not the election denier. Or is he both? He's the only man I know that has been indicted 4 times in 4 different states for drinking way too much pre-workout. His favorite magazine is Guns and Ammo. He's a devil who went down to Georgia looking for a soul to steal. He's a champion of the Second Amendment. He's my boy and yours. Let's give it up for the one and the only Greg A. Tedora the First. Sir, welcome. Happy Sunday. How are you feeling?
Good evening. I feel awesome, and I always feel better after these intros. Enough about this. Let's get to our guest, Mike.
But before we do that, we got to give a shout out to our
Yes.
local EMTs, our firemen, our firefighters, women, men. Thank you all for keeping our community safe, and especially those in Hawaii that have been doing, and Maui have been doing a great job. We're going to get into that in one sec. Greggy T, take it away.
Yes, sir, and I want to thank all the military personnel and the families, the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you. Stay safe out there, domestically, globally. We love you. We thank you for allowing us this platform. Let's do it.
Let's do it. We know what's been going on in the news lately with the events going on in Maui and the challenges that they have been facing. And, we've also seen our leaders really, have a challenging time getting stuff over there. And because Greg and I have this platform, we want to get this message out there unfiltered from someone who's actually experiencing this right now. And Greg and I are so fortunate to have our longtime friend, Jocelyn Cruz, who is a resident of Hawaii. And she's going to share her experiences in a timeline as to how it started, what's been going on, what's going on currently, and the challenges that they're facing. So, Jocelyn, the platform is yours. Welcome to the EmpowerMAN podcast.
Thanks, guys. This is super exciting.
Love it.
It's great to see you. And,
great to see you too also. It's been quite a while.
Long time.
Been a long time. Jocelyn, take us back to when this all started. Paint a picture for us as to how it might have possibly started, because things do get filtered.
Yeah.
And, as to how it started. But give us your firsthand account of, how you found out about it, how it all went down, and just the melee that ensued.
Yeah. Okay. So I would first like to preface it, I guess, by saying that the infrastructure of this island, and probably the infrastructure of most places, are not equipped to handle this type of devastation. It's just that it's a little bit amplified being out on an island in the middle of the Pacific. Like, we're the farthest from any landmass. Like, we're the only island change that's the farthest from landmass, than any other place in the world. So already, like, our resources are in ways limited. It's not like we can drive to another state or have another state drive to us and bring us like water or supplies that we need. It takes a while to ship here. So, like, for instance, during COVID, or actually pre-COVID, 90% of our food was imported to this island. And I mean, it is insane how lush, I'm looking outside right now. There's 2 avocado trees out there. I'm at the Eco Retreat Center that I work at. We've got star fruit trees. We've got a regenerative farm on property. Like, we live in a place in the world where it's like, why would we import that much food? So that was pre-COVID. In 2021, and these numbers are coming from my friend who worked for the state distributing food to lower income families. So I trust, her information because it was also coming from the state, LOL. So in 2021, either late 2021 or early 2022, that number went from 90% of our food being imported to 95% of our food being imported. So we import a lot here. Our gas, everything, you know what I mean? Like, So I just kind of want to paint that picture that it's not like we have, I mean, in many ways, yes, we do have an abundant supply of certain things. And in other ways, we are very dependent, unfortunately, upon the government and the powers that be to work out a system for us to import the goods that we need. So I just want to say that the infrastructure here is like, in some ways, that of a third world country. Not in every way, but in some ways for sure. So what happened on August 8th, our firefighters were not prepared for. And that's like, I totally understand how overworked they were. So early that morning, I live on the opposite side of the island from where Lahaina is. So Lahaina is the west side. I live on the east side in the jungle. Lahaina is a lot more desertous. Maui's a very unique place in that it has pretty much every microclimate that exists. So we've got desert, we've got forest, we've got jungle, you know, it's super diverse here. And so where I am, it's like super moist. So on this side of the island, Maui kind of looks like, actually, this is Maui right here. Can you see that on my ring? This is the shape. So where the fire happened, one of them was over here. I live over here. So on this big part of the island, at 6 a.m. in the morning, I was going to a class and I saw two fires in a place that we call upcountry, in Makawao and Olinda. And I could see the smoke. Like at first I was like, wow, it's so cloudy. This is so weird. And then I realized, I was like, oh shit, it's two fires upcountry. And I was like, oh no, that's really bad that I can see that much smoke coming from there. I had no idea about Lahaina, like zero idea. I didn't even know about the south side because there were 4 fires that day. So Lahaina, the south side, like Wailea, McKenna, or Kihei area, and then Olinda and Kula. 4 fires. We do not have the infrastructure of a fire department to deal with all of those. Lahaina has a lot of wildfires that happen there. Like this is an issue that the locals have been complaining about for a really long time. That like the wildfires there and the way the county maintains the land, like it's been a problem for a really long time. Like at least since 2018, probably before that. I mean, well before that actually, because that side of the island actually used to be super lush and wet, but water was diverted for like cane fields. And then there's also like the west side is where a lot of the tourists go. So that's where tourism happens. That's where all the big hotels are. So also, you know, the big hotels kind of get priority with water diversion. So
Is that
that they
also
can have their
where,
pools.
sorry to interrupt, is that also where
Go
all the
ahead.
celebrities have all their mansions and
I mean, a lot. They're all over. Like
Okay.
Oprah owns, I mean, we should actually
like
Google how much
800
land.
acres or something?
Yeah, it's wild. And that's why her showing up to War Memorial being like, oh, I just like, I wonder what, you know, I came here to see what these families need. It's like, put money in their bank account, bitch. Because we know you're going to try to buy this land up. And I will try not to cuss that much, guys.
No,
I'm like,
bring it
that's
on.
an opinion. Okay.
This
I'm like,
All good
that's,
here.
like, that's opinion of mine, you know, like,
unfiltered.
I don't trust her motives. Anyway, going back to August 8th, the fire. There were 4 fires that day. And
Spread apart. How close were they?
I mean, so Lahaina, let's see. So upcountry in Kula and Olinda, to get from that area to the west side is probably like 35 or 45 minutes.
So you have 2 fires out of the 4 that are, so we're looking at like a half hour to get to one fire to the other. Ish.
Yeah, 2 of the fires were close. Kula
Okay.
and Olinda are close together.
Okay.
Lahaina's definitely farther. And also Lahaina, another disadvantage that they were at there is our roads are not big here. Like we don't really, like we don't have 4-lane highways, thank God, in some ways, you know, and in other ways it's like, well, damn, that most tourists go to that side of the island. Like this has always been an issue. If there were like a tsunami or anything like that, like to exit that side of the island, there's only 2 ways out, either going south or going north. The northern route is super narrow, windy roads in a lot of areas. Like some of the roads, like there's parts of it where you know, it's a comfortable drive. And then there's other parts where it is super narrow. And I mean, you're high above sea level. Like I don't even, I don't know, like maybe 300-400 feet above sea level, like just in these like gulches and cliffs, you know? So obviously that's not going to be your first route out. Like that's not where you're going to go. And even without any type of uh like issue or emergency evacuation, it's not the easiest place to get out of Lahaina. So at least up country, Kula and Olinda, it was a little easier for some people to get out, but not even there. Like I work with a girl who she lives up this road called Olinda Road, and there's only one way down from it, and trees go down a lot there. And you know, sometimes when trees go down here, like you're stuck. So some people got stuck up country because trees were falling down because the winds were crazy that day. Like it was nuts even on this side of the island. It was like 70-mile-per-hour winds. And so in Olinda, like trees were blowing down and some people got blocked in. And I mean, I don't know how many people passed away up there. I don't know. I really hope not that many, if any, like hopefully not anybody, but I definitely have already met some people who lost their houses up there. And it was crazy because I've kind of like forgot. I'm like meeting people and I'm like, oh no, you lost your house in Lahaina. And they're like, no, I was in Olinda, or I was in Kula. And it's like, oh my God, that's right. There were fires there too. So Lahaina, yeah, not an easy place to get out of. They have built a bypass, which is an expanded highway. So I guess I think that might be 4 lanes actually, like 2 lanes going this way, 2 lanes going this way. But they closed it that day. So that wasn't an option to get out. And I went to the west side for the first time yesterday, and I did see it. It's crazy, like there's kind of no rhyme or reason to how the fires happen, because there's just like patches that it's like, how did the fire get over here but didn't touch over here? And like, and I'm not like trying to get into like any conspiracies or anything like that, and I think like a lot of it may have just been the wind blowing it in weird places, but it was weird to see yesterday like buildings completely untouched in this area and then just decimation in other areas. And like some places where it's like one house just like in the middle of rubble, and I can't imagine being that person. You know, you have like your community and your friends and family. Because the thing also about where it burned down in Lahaina, these are generational Hawaiian families that live there, like second, third generation Hawaiians who most of them live together. Like here it is very family oriented, and I know people hear the word ohana and it does mean family, but we also use it in another way here to describe a certain type of housing. So you have like your main house and then you have ohanas, which means your family lives in those ohanas. So a lot of these people lived together, and like the streets were narrow. Sorry, I might cry, guys. Like the streets were narrow, and like people couldn't get out. And I met somebody who lost her house. So I'm just gonna tell like her story because I wasn't there on the west side, but like there were no warnings that day. And they get fire warnings in that area because again, like they're used to them. So she was saying that like all day her daughter went to preschool, which is like just down the road from where she was. And she's like, you know, there was a brush fire that started in the morning in Lahaina that day, and you could see the smoke. And I'm not sure what time it was at. I think it was either early afternoon or right before afternoon that the fire department was like, it's 100% contained. So they left to go to the Kula and Olinda fires, which had already been burning since the morning. I saw them at 6 a.m. And she was just like all day kind of packing things up because they've had to pack things up before. Like this area is used to that. So she was just kind of like grabbing some things, packing some things up. But she's like, man, like I'm not getting any texts or like alerts telling us to leave. But then she's like, around like 1:30 or 2, she thinks it was, the smoke started getting really bad. And she's like, I'm gonna go grab my kid and I'm gonna leave. So she meets up with her partner. They have a warehouse where they run their business out of, and he's like, I'm gonna stay and kind of like hold down the fort. I'm gonna go, or he said, I'm gonna go check it out. And he was gone for an hour, and she was like, I like at that point, like she just knew she had to leave. And thank God she did, because again, there were no warnings, none, no text or anything. And the government is like, well, power was out. And it's like, okay, so there's no backup. Like, also the siren system that we have here is really intense. Every first of the month, you can hear it all around the island. I forgot how many sirens it is. You can go to, I think it's
They test it, right?
maui-sirens.com. Yeah. You can go to
Yeah.
maui-sirens.com. I'm pretty sure that's the website. And it tells you how many we have, like, I don't know, like 87 or something like that. And you hear it because every first of the month, they test it out in case there's a tsunami. Like, and also on their website, it says that it's for wildfires also. So that was not sounded at all. Like, and people apparently were waiting in this Safeway parking lot for a long time, but they couldn't even get out using that bypass I was talking about. So
Why
then
was
they
it closed?
diverted. There was a wildfire right there. And I saw yesterday, I was like, okay, my friend and I were like, okay, this is the wildfire that they were probably talking about that, is the reason why
So it
they
could be
had to
legit that
close
it was
it.
closed.
Yeah, I mean it was closed. So it
Okay.
could, yeah, like it's totally possible that it was closed. Now, the super issue is then people had to go through like Front Street, and this is, I don't know, but I heard that Front Street was closed down in a certain area too. So it's like just a crazy bottleneck then happened. And like Front Street's, it's a one way going both way, like you can go this way and you can go this way. And even when there's not a natural disaster, like it's not an easy place to get out of. I've gotten stuck in traffic there myself, and I think that's why you see pictures of like a lot of those cars that are burned down, because people got stuck there. There was nowhere to get out. So they had to jump into the ocean.
Yeah, I saw
And
videos of that.
yeah. And we're just like in the ocean for a super long time. And the wind, like it was crazy winds, like truly like a perfect storm. You know what I mean? Just of all these crazy different things happening. Like the wind doesn't usually go in that direction. Like Maui's a pretty windy island in general. It's called the Valley Isle. So there's the West Maui's and then Haleakala, and that's why it's kind of like that H shape, and the wind usually goes through the valley, but that day it was just like the wind was super erratic. And so it was actually like blowing the fire offshore into the water, like people's boats burned down and stuff. And yeah, there were a lot of people in the water, and that is for sure one of the things that the government is not being honest at all about, dude. Like a lot of people got caught in the water, and like my friend's neighbor is a fisherman, and I think on August 10th, so 2 days after the fire, they did kind of ask like local fishermen for help to pull bodies out of the water. So that's why it's like the numbers that they're saying are not real, dude. Like it's way more people, and I'm like quite sure that they know, because they're asking for help from like civilians. You know what I mean?
So they'll ask for help for that, but this is now I'm asking if this happened because I've heard it. I just want to clarify. So they'll ask for help for retrieving a body or bodies, but they're prohibiting people from bringing supplies, like locals to help other locals. Is that true?
Yeah. So, and what I'll say on that is I know they definitely didn't want people to drive in. And this is like, some of this is going to be speculation. So I'll like say which parts are speculation. Like 1,000,000% they were not letting people in on either side. Like you couldn't go in through the north or the south
By
as a
land.
civilian. Yeah. By driving to get supplies to people, because August 9th, when all this happened, like I didn't even know about Lahaina until the morning of August 9th at 7 a.m. when I had friends calling and texting me, like, are you okay? I can't believe Lahaina burned down. And I was like, Lahaina? No, the fires were up country. What are you talking about? And then like I started reading the news and I was like, wait, what the fuck? Because also, like, Lahaina's not just a tourist destination. That was the original capital of the Kingdom of Hawaii. So also what burned down, like it was like the oldest canoe on the island, and just like so many items that are historical
Yeah.
and part of these people's heritage burned down. Um, so yeah. So you couldn't drive in either way. And I do think that part of that was they wanted to mitigate anybody getting stuck in there. So I think like
I get
part of
that.
it could have been, yeah, like good intention. Like, we don't want anybody to get trapped in here. Like, we don't need any more bodies. We're trying to account for everybody that's already here anyway. Um, and yeah, just in case, because like there's been flare-ups for a while. Like up country, they're still kind of like putting out fires because what happened up there, it's super foresty up there. It's like a way different climate. So there's a lot of these really tall, big trees that have super deep roots. And the fires, because it's so hot, are it's catching ground fire of the roots. It's root fires up country, so they're still like kind of putting those out. Sorry to like jump around so much, but that's
All
just
good.
one thing that's happening up there. So back to people not being able to drive in. Essential items: food water and food. Everybody on island, like, it is small here and it's a very transient place. So like, you see, I've been here for 6 years. Like, you see people that have been here for a while and we kind of know, like, you're a local, whatever. Like, and then there's like actual locals who were born and raised here. And because we have that, I feel like we're at an advantage that it really feels like a community. And like, you actually do feel tight knit and you're like, this is my neighbor, which is super beautiful. And I feel like that doesn't always happen in a lot of other places because populations are so big and we're in condensed areas. But here it's like, there is aloha where you take care of each other. And so that Wednesday, I mean, pretty much everybody not affected on island was grabbing supplies to donate to other people. And I mean, we were coming straight from Costco, fully packaged waters, like, not like we're handing individual water bottles. I bought Cliff bars that were still in the freaking box. And FEMA, National Guard, and Red Cross were like, we can't distribute these because they're not verified.
Are you serious?
Like, what is your system that you can't verify packaged goods to distribute to people? And this is, I wasn't there, so I don't know, but I did hear one of the locals say that the first day after, so August 9th, Red Cross was giving out one water bottle and one snack to everybody over there. And it's like, well, what the fuck did you guys bring? Like, how do you not have your own supply to distribute to people that you can't give our supply to? And it's like, if that's your system where you have to wait and verify a couple of days, like, fuck off, then our system's better because we can get food in there. So because people couldn't drive in to drop off these supplies, like even gasoline, people got stuck on the west side because there's not a lot of gas stations over there. The gas stations that were there blew up, a lot of them. You know what I mean? So they ran out of gas and stuff. They ran out of propane. A lot of stores burned down. And certainly there are still some. Like, there are still some standing, but like not enough to supply that side of the island. So when people couldn't get in bringing their goods by driving, a lot of local people who have boats and jet skis took it upon themselves to do it that way. So they started doing it that way. And then same thing, like FEMA, National Guard, Red Cross, like, they're like, oh, you can't do this. And started trying to close down the harbors. And everybody's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, no. So yeah, they've been like not the most helpful. And that's on that side of the island. So a lot of the shelters, I'm not sure how many shelters are on the west side, but there's quite a few shelters now on this side of the island. And how are we getting them there? You know, like, certainly, like, there, a lot of them are filled up for sure, but it's like the response time of getting people out of there or getting them the supplies they needed, and also like having things like State Farm just set up their insurance pop-up where these people can come and like start filing insurance claims like just in the past couple of days. So we're 10 days, it's August 20th, this happened the 8th. Like just this past week they popped up in Kahalui, and it's like, well, and I've had a friend that went to the West Side, and he's like very familiar with law and things like this. And he went on, let's see, it's Sunday. He went on Thursday, and he's like, there was nothing on the West Side. Or I'm sorry, he went Wednesday. So he was like, there's nothing on this side really to help them where they can file insurance claims. So yeah, on August 16th, which was pretty much a week later, there was no insurance agencies helping them on the West Side where they were most affected. Like that is where the fires were the worst, no doubt. They just like the response time of the government is just like so weird, and that's what makes it questionable. You know, it's like, isn't Red Cross trained for natural disasters? Isn't FEMA trained for natural disasters? Like the processes that are taking place just like don't make sense.
It's
Like,
more
it
like
doesn't
that
make
corporate
sense.
red tape bullshit.
Yeah, and that's why it's like, if your process requires a certain amount of time to distribute water or food, like that process doesn't work. So we're gonna go ahead and nix that idea. Like,
Let me ask you this. Before the fires, how is the feeling on the island of the government? Is it mostly trusted? Is it not? Is it 50-50? What do the
it's
locals
pretty
think?
it's like pretty mafioso here, honestly. Like the local government is just, like I was saying, the infrastructure in a lot of ways makes it seem like third world country, and like to get permits for certain things out here, like permitting takes a really long time. Like to get a well, like for instance, like if you live up country and you buy land, but there's not like already a well or something on there, you could wait 20 years. No, like I'm not exaggerating, 20 years to get a permit. So things are just like really backed up and not like well streamlined. And then now it just, you see these holes in the infrastructure that's like, well, why didn't anybody think of that? Like, for instance, in Lahaina that day, one of the issues why they couldn't put the fires out was because there was no water in the fire hydrants. And what some of the government officials are saying is because, yeah, the water lines were hooked up to electricity to pump the water. And they either A, turned the power off because brush fires happen there a lot of times because the power lines blow, it sparks, things ignite. So one of the things they're saying is that the power was turned off, which then I'm like, and I mean, maybe they turned it off after the fire started, you know, because they're like, oh no, that's how this fire started, so let's cut the power. But then it's like, how do you not have a backup source to pump the water?
Exactly.
So for instance, where I'm at right now at my work, this eco retreat center, we're small. Like we could probably, I think we can house like 60 people, like 60 people here. And we live in the jungle. It's a lot more moist here. Like if there was a fire in the jungle, it's not as bad. Like not as many things are going to catch on fire. But what the county did, and my boss is super awesome. Like a lot of this is like a lot of our energy here is sustainable. Like we certainly are hooked onto the grid and we receive some power from them, like from the county of Maui, but we have 3 really large solar panel arrays. So we produce a lot of power ourselves as well. And our water is well water. And we also use water catchment because it rains almost every day in the jungle where like it's either raining in the morning or it rains at night and you can collect some water. So she was trying to get permitted for another group of housing on here. And so the county was like, okay, but what you need to do for your water then is you have to have a backup energy source that the fire department could hook up to if they needed to. So out here in the jungle, yeah, my boss, who also like, I mean, eco retreat where like we use virtually no chemicals. Like the way we clean the room is with essential oils, and like I told you, regenerative farm on the land, and like trying to do things very consciously. So the county was like, you need an alternative source of power to hook your water up to in case the grid goes down. You either have to go to generator power, or you can do, we're super fortunate because, like I said, we get a bunch of rain, or you can do gravity pressure to pump water out. So here we have two systems in place to pump our water. So if there were a fire out here, we would either A, be able to use the county's electricity to pump our water. If that goes out in an emergency, we've got the backup generators and the backup gravity water pressure. So why, for a large city who has a bunch of tourists over there too, why was there not an alternative source of power to pump the water? That does not make sense to me. Like, that, in my opinion, is a huge fucking oversight. Like,
I'll
and I'm
agree with
not
that.
trying to point the finger of blame, but it is, somebody has to take accountability because you're in public service. You know what I mean? Like, these public servants didn't just magically end up in these positions. They asked for it. So if you
Well,
ask for it, then you're responsible.
well, Mr. Herman Andea, the
Oh,
emergency chief, well, he resigned.
yeah.
Go
Yeah,
figure.
yeah,
Over health reasons.
over health reasons, yeah, like, oh, my tummy hurts, yeah. And
Hmm.
also he said that he doesn't regret, because he was responsible for sounding the alarms.
Yep.
He says he doesn't regret not
I
sounding
heard
them.
him say that in an interview, and I like blew a gasket in my head. I was like,
Yeah.
how can you say that?
And like, if
He's got
I
to
can
leave the island.
say,
I would assume.
I hope so,
Yeah.
like a lot of these guys. And even our mayor, so I want to put a pin in that and like just talk about our mayor for a second, because the thing with the mayor, what I've heard about him also, like I was talking about water diversion,
Hmm.
he's one of the guys who in the past, like whether or not he's doing it currently, in the past he works with this he works with EMI, which is like, they kind of allocate water to different parts of the island, and they're notorious for diverting water. Like, even out here in the jungle, like a lot of waterfalls are not going anymore because EMI is diverting the water to wherever they see best fit. So on the west side, they diverted a lot of water to these big hotels to water their golf courses, to make, yeah, to get new pools for them, which
Oh
I
yeah.
saw the golf course, one of the golf courses yesterday, completely fine. Completely fine.
Of course.
But all the houses next to it burnt, like charred.
Hmm.
So I just want to say that about our mayor. He's a jerk. Um, Going back to what we were talking about previously, or this is like, it's on the same line. Like, the guy who didn't sound the alarm, like for him, I feel like a lot of these guys are just so cavalier about what happened. And one of the most tragic things, and like, this isn't totally confirmed yet, but it makes a lot of sense. A lot of the casualties are probably going to be children because they canceled school that day. So kids were home alone while their parents were at work. And like, nobody got warnings. Like, no, like, I've had in the past few days so many alerts on my phone, and I'm taking screenshots now of like, your route might be affected by Maui wildfires. And like, these parents were not alerted at all, and their kids were at home. And sorry, one of the surf instructors on the west side, this like really well-known guy, Uncle Bully, he's one of the guys that was saying that. And this was like the first week even after the fires happened, like they're having some locals go in there and help, and it's like everybody kind of got burnt to a crisp. So I don't even know how they're identifying bodies right now. Like, they have cadaver dogs and stuff, but like, it's probably going to be a lot of kids that were the casualties. So for this dude to just be like, I don't regret not sounding the alarm because he was worried that people, he's like, those alarms are designed for tsunamis, so people would have like sought out higher ground. It's like, nobody's gonna run towards the fire, you idiot. Like, do you really think that we're that dumb? I think they're all just trying to save face. Like, they fucked up super badly, and they know it, and they're trying to buy time to make it not look that bad, when today, which is 12 days after, there's still over 1,000 people missing, and like, I
I
am
heard that.
starting to see people post like they're missing their kids.
Yeah, I heard a lot of the 1,000 are probably kids, like you said, and
Yeah.
don't ever apologize because we feel you on this. You know, I have 2 little girls. I can't even imagine. I hope that guy gets what's coming to him. I'll say it.
I really do. Yeah, like there's oversight so for them to not even be giving these like heartfelt messages, like they're irritated that the community is irritated. And it's like, yeah, you
Mhm.
guys were in charge and you asked to be in charge and you dropped the ball. So somebody has to assume responsibility, especially about kids. And that's why it's like mainstream media being like, oh, the death toll now. I think they're saying like 114 finally. And it's like people burned alive in their cars, like videos that are going around right now, like you
Mhm.
see lines of cars on Front Street, and it's because these people could not get out. Like, there's no way to get out. And the way the fire, and like, listen, like, I won't even go into conspiracy theories because you don't even have to right now. It's literally just the incompetency of the government itself and
Yeah.
those facts alone that make this like so blatantly obvious that the government is not doing their job, you know? So like you don't even have to go into conspiracy, but like the
How?
way the fire burned and like again, like the wind was crazy, so there was like no rhyme or reason. Like going north or south, if you were on Front Street, like
How's the
like
air?
I
How's
just
the air quality now? Isn't that a problem? I saw you post something before about the
yeah,
lady saying wearing a mask, and there's got to be a lot of shit
yeah.
in the air.
So yeah, and like I don't know if it was power of suggestion, but like when we were leaving Lahaina yesterday, I was like, man, my throat does feel a little itchy. I mean, some people are saying now that not the air quality, but the ground quality because it was so toxic, like they're comparing it to Chernobyl. Like I don't know, like I'm not saying that that's a fact,
Hmm.
but like I mean, furniture super toxic. You know, a lot of our environment, unfortunately, is
Yeah.
very toxic. Like
No.
what the government allows our houses to be made out of, our products to be made out of, is highly toxic. Now all of that has burned. And so yeah, yesterday, um, when we went to the west side to donate, we were asking these women that worked at the donation site, you know, what else can we bring? And uh the ladies, like you could tell, were kind of agitated because everybody was wearing masks except for my friend and I. And like I even during COVID, I'm like, I'm not wearing this. Like masks in my I'm like, this doesn't make sense. You exhale to detox your body. Why would I breathe in bacteria? Like, why would I re-inhalate bacteria? But anyway, that's just my stance on masks in general. So when she gave us masks and asked us to put them on, like I was thinking it was a COVID thing because there is like a COVID resurgence and
It's
we
the
all need to
election
be
variant.
careful, blah blah blah. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Um, so she hands us these masks and she's like, listen, we've been having these winds that are blowing up what looks like dust, but it's lead, asbestos, and I forgot the third thing she said. So she's like, please put these on because you're breathing that in right now. And I just like, it like took all of me to not start bawling right in front of her because I'm like, well, you guys are still breathing this in every day and then it's going on your skin. Like people are still living there. And I understand like
Hmm.
that must be super hard to leave your home, you know, and also like not just leave where you're from, but like yeah, it's man, so heavy over there. Like it's hard for them to leave because there's nowhere else really to go either. Like there's a super huge housing crisis already on the island. So all these displaced families, it's like, oh no, there's already other people on the island whose houses didn't burn down who are looking for places to live. You know, and it's like Maui's expensive. It is not cheap here at all. I was in LA before this and it is comparable to housing prices. Our food prices are actually more. Like
Yeah.
it's an expensive place to live. So like not only did people just lose their homes, they lost their livelihood too because all these businesses burned down. And unfortunately, most of Hawaii's revenue comes from tourism. So it's like now we're in this like catch 22 of not wanting people to come because we don't want them to go to the west side, but also needing people to come so the rest of us can sustain our lives. Like,
Is it true, speaking of the housing, that the government or like some real estate agents are going like pennies on the dollar trying to buy
oh yeah,
people's?
oh yeah. Because the thing is, like, those houses, like, those people were never gonna sell. That's
Yeah.
generational housing. Like
Yep.
that was passed down from your ancestors, essentially.
That's that rent
Like,
stabilized in New York City. You're never giving that up.
yeah, yeah. So they were never gonna sell
Yeah.
their houses. And like in all actuality, the land is priceless, you know, but to these billionaires, it is worth billions. And now these people who like a lot of them like there was some home ownership there, but like also a lot of people were renting and like probably didn't like it's super like local, you know, like people are not like really made, and maybe some of them made like wills and stuff like that, but like it's just your family house that like you keep passing down, so it's probably not in your name, it's probably still in your grandfather's name,
Mm-hmm.
but your family lives on the property and the rest of your family is going to live on the property as time goes on because that's just how you do it here.
That's going to be a mess trying to figure all that out. I feel horrible
Huge,
for those people.
huge. And yeah, like yesterday, you know, we saw this line of cops because now there is a lot more like police presence over there, or I believe. I wasn't there in the beginning. I have friends who were there in the beginning. Because people like I have friends who snuck in driving there. They're kind of like, fuck you, no, I'm going.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, no, people are hungry and thirsty, and it's like basic needs, like Maslow's hierarchy of needs: food, shelter, water. Like we need these people to feel as stable as possible. Like, and that's already a huge endeavor in and of itself. But it's like those people feeling stable and comfortable keeps everybody else on island safe too. Yeah. Like
Mm-hmm.
we need to make them feel stable so that it doesn't get super wild west everywhere else. Because for sure, like already we feel it. You know what I mean? Like already you can feel the grief and the tragedy that these people went through, but it's like we're going to feel the price increase, and like you know it's going to slowly start to flood to this side of the island. And you know almost 2 weeks into this, people in the community are still really good about like showing up and volunteering and doing this, that, and the other, but that's probably going to start to dissipate. You know, like this is a marathon we're in, not a race. So like even
Yeah.
me, like I've been volunteering, but I'm like I'm honestly only going for like 3 to 4 hours at a time because I'm like I'm going to be doing this for the next few months, like not right now. um and yeah, so it's like it's great the community's still showing up like they are.
I mean, I think I've never been there, but I think from
You got to
everything
come. It's beautiful.
I will
Also,
one
we
day.
love your guys' kind of tourism. You guys, you're tourists.
We will be banned from that place real quick. I think the community is one of the strongest. I think in Hawaii and Hawaiians. Everything you
Yeah.
read about their culture, their history, like you said, aloha. They take care of their own. They're very welcoming, but they help each other no matter what. And it's unlike that, like you said. I've never witnessed it anywhere in the States like that.
Yeah.
So I feel horrible for those people, but I
Yeah.
also feel, a lot of hope because you guys stick together and help each other out. And it's a beautiful thing to see given
Totally.
given the severity of the crisis. It's horrible. What's the what's the overall feeling on the island now, and what are they looking for in the future regarding the state? I know you call the government state there, I think. I mean, I don't want to say the hate must be at an all time high, but I mean, they must really not be happy at all with what's going on, what they're seeing with their government.
Yeah.
The $700 that's like a slap in the
One
face.
time per household, not per person, per household.
And did he come and visit yet? Was he? I don't even know.
He's supposed to be here tomorrow.
There's no way they want him there. I'm assuming that.
I honestly really don't well, honestly, you know what? Like I hate to make this political, but we are in a democratic state and there are a lot of people who still support him. And I think that the support rate is probably dwindling, and I hope so.
Hmm.
But yeah, there is definitely still some support for him. I mean, I don't know what he's gonna come here and do and say. Like honestly, the interviews I've seen from even our local government, like the governor Josh Green, they're like irritated that we're irritated rather than, and like, listen, I think most of these people in power are psychopaths and narcissists. And I don't just mean it like when people are like, oh, you're a psychopath. I mean, literally, like the psychological disorders, psychopathy, I think a lot of them have. And the personality disorder, narcissism, I do believe a lot of them have. So it's not super surprising their responses, but to me, I'm like, wow, the fact that you can't even lie and be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, even if it's a lie, like show a little bit of sympathy and empathy. Like people lost their kids, like people lost different things. People lost their pets. Pets are family members, you know, like people lost their homes, their livelihood, sentimental things. Like, and our local government is just like irritated that people are irritated. And it's like, well, duh, bitch, that's part of grief. Like that's one of the stages is anger. And yeah, like your response time has been so lacking that they're frustrated. But also, like we were saying, like the silver lining is that the community's here and like we feel even more tight knit with each other. And honestly, from this, what I'm hoping comes is like, hey, look at us as an example of what happens when community actually gets together. You don't really need the government because they haven't really been here for us at all. And when we stand together, like we're so much stronger. Like on the Sunday after, sorry, I'm just looking at my calendar, the Sunday after the fires. So that was August 13th. The fires happened on the 8th. Lahaina had to say, they were like, hey guys, please stop sending us donations because we've received so many. We have to go through them. We'll make a list of everything that we actually need, but for right now, we're good. And that was all from the community, not from the government. So it's like, at least there's that, you know, like, and what I'm also hoping is going to come from this, and I think what the community is really going to push for, and we're going to make sure that this happens, is that these locals who are from here and understand how the land works, they need to have a front seat at the table in all these discussions about rebuilding and what Lahaina is going to look like now, rather than letting it like the government come in and like, we're going to impose like these new structures. Like, don't worry, everything will be automated and electric. And like, I don't know if that's truly their goal. Like, you know, right now, some people are like,
that was one of my
they want to
questions.
make it the
Is that
first smart
true?
city and the first smart island. I'm not totally sure. There is a government, let me see if it's a government website. I have the link. It's called Digital Government Summit. What is it called? Yeah, Digital Government Summit. It's scheduled for September 25th. It was already scheduled before any of these wildfires happened. When you go to the overview now, at the very top, there's a disclaimer. Can I read the disclaimer that they're saying now? So, note, misleading social media posts have been circulating falsely asserting that the Hawaii Digital Government Summit, which is held in Honolulu each year, is aimed at transforming Maui into the first smart island. These claims are incorrect and do not align with the summit's annual focus. The event is designed to facilitate collaboration among public and private sector IT professionals, encouraging the exchange of best practices and innovative solutions to enhance the support and services provided to the constituents they serve. So it's like all these local, like they better have a front seat. Like, don't just make this government and IT. Like, you better fucking welcome all the local people to come to this summit. Cause I tried to sign up for it and I couldn't. They're like, well, what sector of the government are you in? And I'm like, fuck you, bitch. I'm a resident. Like, I want to know exactly what you're doing.
I was going to ask you, do you really think they're going to give the locals a chance to sit down?
I mean,
I hope so.
I hope so. For a lot of reasons. I hope so, because I truly believe in my heart that that's the right thing to do. And I think we need to work more with nature anyways.
100%.
And also I hope so, because you just messed with a lot of people who are real Wild West. So like, I mean, I feel like there's a possibility for like a huge Hawaiian revolution. And I feel like I want that to happen. I would ideally like it to happen in the most peaceful of ways rather than people get forceful, because also these people, a lot of people right now are feeling really desperate, which is also, I believe, this is opinion, but I believe the government wants them to feel desperate because they want them to just sell out. Like, oh my God, you'll give me $5,000. I'll take it.
Absolutely.
Like I
They'll
think
get a
that they're,
majority of them
yeah,
because they have
I
to.
think,
Yep.
yeah, I think they're trying to create desperation, but it's
Mm-hmm.
also like things get gnarly when people feel desperate.
I
So
agree.
that's another reason I'm like, I mean, I want people to feel comfortable and safe, but I'm also like, I want to help keep the community comfortable and safe. So I want to help as much as I can so that these people don't feel the deepest despair or desperation, because already they're experiencing, like, no doubt they're going to experience that, and like I have to say, even if I can go back to like the Red Cross, so one of the biggest there's this place called War Memorial Stadium, and Red Cross set up there. So that's one of the biggest survivor centers, and like they're actually housing people there and stuff. So, gosh, this was the Saturday after. It's so crazy, the timeline. I'm like, whoa. So fires happened on the 8th. I went there on the 13th to donate some more supplies. Even though I had like heard stuff about the Red Cross, because at War Memorial, there are like these mounds of God knows what that are just like wrapped in saran wrap. And I don't know if it's donations from community or if that's stuff that Red Cross brought in, but like they weren't distributing those. And even on like the west side, the stories that I heard were a lot of donations were coming in, and if you took it to Red Cross, they weren't distributing it to the community up there. And I mean, locals are posting that. Like I can send links of like actual locals. Like we're not like, why would we make this up? You know what I mean? It's like, what would we benefit
Yeah.
from
What would be the
lying right
purpose?
now? It's like people are worried about such deeper things. Like nobody's like, wow, you know what? We can make a conspiracy theory right now. Like that's not where anybody's mind is at. So anyway, that big distribution center or Red Cross in Kahului at War Memorial. On Sunday the 13th, I went to go donate just a few more things, and I went to donate shower curtains. They're asking for shower curtains just to put up between people for privacy. Like I can't imagine grieving this alongside like all these other families, and everybody grieves differently. So it's just like a lot of energy. So I'm like, the least we could do is like provide them the slightest bit of privacy. So
Yeah.
I brought those to donate them. As I'm rolling up, the the people that are working there, they're like, are you donating or are you picking up? And I said, oh, I'm just donating. And they're like, okay, because there's no pickups today on the 13th, which is what, 5 days after the fires.
Yeah.
And I was like, why are there no pickups today? And they're like, I don't know, the mayor and the governor said that there's no pickups today from here. And so I was just like, well, then I'm not going to leave the things that I just brought because I want them to go. Like,
To get to the people
what
that
do you
need
have
it.
to verify with these? Like, it doesn't make sense with shower curtains. You add, and I told the guys, I was like, I read the sign yesterday and they said they're asking for shower curtains just for privacy for people. Like, how easy would that be to be like, oh, you have shower curtains here, let me put them here. And like, even if you, I don't know, I bought like 10 or 12 of them. You can't give that to 10 or 12 people. Like, what are your systems? Like, what is happening? And then I see Oprah there that day too.
I was
Yeah,
just gonna say
she
that.
went back there. Yeah, she went back there that day, and I'm just like, fuck you, brah.
I was
Like,
just gonna say that.
I just, I came to see what these people need and blah blah. They need money in their bank account. Don't buy them pillows. Don't buy them blankets because the community's already brought them.
They
don't
need some
need
of
your
that land
snack
you bought.
donations or whatever you're giving, huh?
They need some of that land she bought.
Yeah, exactly. I know. It's like put money in their bank accounts, because at that point there was already like, thank God for the internet too, because people have started like amazing spreadsheets of GoFundMe where you can like pick a specific family, and it's like, bitch, why don't you start there? And then Jeff Bezos's wife or whatever she is like, Jeff and I are so sad and like we want to commit 100 or like $1 million or whatever they're saying. And I'm like, what, are you going to go through a third party organization that's a 501c3 so that you get a tax write-off? Give the people money. Like if you really care, give those local people your money, put it in their bank account. Like, because yeah, that land is super desired. Nobody living there would have ever sold it. And for sure, like I was saying, how the streets were super narrow there. So I kind of feel like what the government's going to do too is be like, well, the infrastructure was so bad and it was super unsafe and the roads were narrow. So now we're going to widen everything. And it's like, that wasn't like certainly it played a factor. That like it played a factor, but the fact that they were like, oh, the fire's 100% contained during fire season, during a crazy hurricane, which also like, okay, I will get a little conspiracy theory, but I'll try like not too much. So that storm in particular was super weird. Like that we had a hurricane that had no water is kind of crazy. It's like, okay, like,
Did they
okay,
warn you? So this happened on the 8th. Was there like in the, you watch the local news, the weather on the
yeah.
7th or the 6th? They're like, yeah, there's something coming.
The thing is, like, there's a lot of weather warnings, but it changes so rapidly here that, like, a lot of times they do warn us, and they're like, even this past weekend, like right now, I mean, it's like super, I don't know if you can say, but like it's
Yeah, it
sunshiny,
looks
and
nice.
this weekend was supposed to be, there were supposed to be hurricanes. So it's like a lot of times they do kind of like, they're like, oh, everybody prepare, prepare. And it's kind of like a joke here where we're like, if they tell you to prepare, it means that you actually don't have to. You know what I mean? So it's like hard to tell with the weather systems, but Maui's really lucky too when there's hurricanes because we've got the big island blocking us for most of the hurricanes. So for this hurricane in particularly, like not only did we not get water, but it didn't even like touch the big island. Like there's people who are broadcasting from the big island and they're like, brah, this is so weird that like this hurricane, and listen, crazy things can happen. Like certainly life is unpredictable. So certainly it could have just been that it's this like perfect storm. I just like I don't know, like weather manipulation is a real thing. Like that is not conspiracy theory. Like the government legit seeds rain clouds. And also, like back in 2020, the Chinese government was bragging about, and you can go to CNN.com and look at this article. The Chinese government is bragging about how by 2025, they're going to be able to control an India size. Gosh, what is it? It's like the amount of acres that they're going to weather control is like the size of India. So it's like governments are boasting that they can manipulate the weather, but then governments are also like, oh my God, climate change. It's like, So, and climate change is a real thing. Like if you go to any natural history museum throughout time, climate has changed. We've had ice ages, we've had hot, like it changes for sure. Like, and it's totally possible that it's happening again. You know what I mean? Like even seasonally, the weather, like you guys live on the East Coast. Like if you live in New York, the weather changes. So for people to be like climate change, it's like, what are you talking about, bro?
Yeah.
And also like climate change, well, if governments can manipulate weather, then why are we not upset about that? It's either A, why are we not upset about that? Or B, why is the government then not changing the climate back to make it safer for everybody? Like that shit doesn't make sense to me. And like for me personally, I don't believe CO2 is the problem. Like
Yeah.
where we live, like Earth is too perfectly designed for that to be the issue, for what we exhale to be the issue. Like no way, because the plants right outside here are breathing in what I'm breathing out. Like it's a closed cycle. Pollution is different. Pollution, I think we're
Yeah.
fucking up for sure. But like for people to be like CO2 is the issue, it's like, no, they already have carbon credit cards that they're like, get this carbon credit card because once you reach your carbon limit, then it shuts off and you can't spend any more of your money. And like people are like, oh my God, perfect. I don't have to calculate my carbon footprint. Like, shut up. Like,
So
please be smarter.
the mindset of the people, obviously it's still fresh and they're
Yeah.
grieving and going through all that. Where do you see this going now? Do you see like a divide, like I was saying before, with the people in government? Do you see locals wanting to step up and filling the, I'll say, political or government positions? Like, what do you think?
I do. Yeah. A lot of locals in the community that are revered are speaking up about that. And they're like, we need a place at the table right now. And nobody's really asking our opinions. And yeah, I think it's going to be, if we really all keep banding together, it's going to be a good way to get these government officials out. Because there's already like legal aid. There's a lot of lawyers now that are like, oh, we'll work pro bono for this.
I
So
like
yeah,
that.
I think that there is a bigger divide. I think there's definitely less trust in the government, which like in my opinion, good. Like
Yeah, I agree
They're
with that.
not looking out for the most part. And like certainly there are some politicians who go into this work, which is like, God, who even really wants to do that? You know what I mean? Like, but they do it because they actually do have people's best interests in mind, and they know that that is like that's how we're going to influence a lot of change. Like, unfortunately, this is the game we're playing, so we just need to learn how to play the game too. And like, this is the system. It's unrealistic to think that, like, ideally we could just halt it all and like rebuild, but that's not super realistic. Like, you kind of have to take things apart, because also, like, there's parts of our society that are really good. Like, running water is sick, power is sick. Like, that's so dope. Like, living off grid, it is crazy. Like, and my house in particular, the property that I live on is it's a big property. It's like 3 or 4 acres. And so there's like the main part of the property that is all hooked up. Like, it's completely off grid, so it's all only solar power. They do have a generator. It's all water catchment. So
A propane
everything
generator?
is powered. Um, Fuel.
Okay.
I have another little propane generator. So like the main part of the property is set up like showers, bathrooms, sink, kitchen, like everything, refrigerator. Where I live, I don't have running water. I have like a solar shower. So that's like how I brush my teeth and stuff at night. And I don't have what I have for power is a little, I don't know if you've heard of them, but it's a Jackery generator. It's pretty sick. Like, I can plug it into the wall and charge it that way. It's just like a little battery. I can also use solar.
Mm-hmm.
They say don't put the solar panels in the rain, and they mean it. I learned the hard way. So like, that's my power and my water situation, and it's like, I love where I live. I'm so grateful, but like, anytime I'm back on grid, I'm like, whoa, it is crazy how convenient our lives are. And actually, most of it is luxurious. Like, it's a luxury to have power. It's a luxury to have running water, let alone heated water. Like, get out of here. You know what I mean? And it's like, we're just so conditioned as a society, because we're so fortunate to like be at this point in evolution where we figured out, like, here's how we can make a city work. Here's how we can provide power. Here's how we can provide water. But it's like, we take that for granted now, and we're just like, oh yeah, you just have power and you can just like wash as many clothes as you want. Because like, living off grid, like I was telling you, my friend's part of the property is set up, but it's like, you're only washing a certain amount of loads of laundry in a day. You're only washing a certain amount, like one dishwasher load, maybe like 3 loads of laundry if you can get them in before 2 p.m. because after 2 p.m. the water's gonna, or I mean the power's gonna decrease. Like, solar power is sick, but you are like, there's a limit. And I also think that's good, because we overconsume. Like, what happened in Lahaina is a pretty direct reflection of what happens when we overconsume. Like, you diverted water, you diverted the natural flow of things in an unnatural way and created this cascading effect on the rest of that part of the island, like just that part of the island. Because also now, can't drink the water over there. Now we have water warnings up country too. Like, we are getting worked, bro.
Yeah, you're
like,
getting
it's
crushed
not
right
just
now.
the fires. Like, I drove up country today. I used to live up there, and I went to go check my old mailbox, and yeah, there's like this road sign that's like flashing the information, please don't drink the water. And if you want to get checked, like, now they're setting up somewhere where people can get
Go get
checked.
your one bottle.
Go get your one bottle and like go check and see if you did get poisoned by the water, because also people are still using it on their bodies. I'm like, even if they're not drinking it, like, your skin is your largest organ, so what you're putting on it, you're absorbing with no filtration system. Like, at least if you ingest something, your digestive system works as a filtration system, and it might not digest all of it or filter all of it, but at least it, like, your skin, most of it's going directly into your bloodstream. So whatever happened up country, and same thing with putting out the fires up country, they couldn't put them out because the water systems were hooked up to power, and then the power went out. And it's like, whose genius idea was it to not have a backup part, like a backup power? But then out here in the jungle for this little eco retreat center,
Gotta have it.
the sweet little 70
Gotta have it.
something year old lady who's like, I don't want to use chemicals. We're going to do saltwater pools. Like, They made this sweet little lady. And you know what? Good. Like, thank God that we know, hey, if something went down here, we've got a main source of power, and then we've got a backup.
Yeah, you guys are getting crushed right now.
Crushed, yeah. And it's like Lahaina, it's a mountain. It's a mountain range. So they're the West Maui. So what the government, like, this is one possible solution. They could have had water catchment up in the valley where there's a lot of rain up there a lot of times. Just catch the water up there, have tanks that are designated specifically for fire. Then you don't even need power. You could just use the gravity. Like, who didn't think of that? Who is in that power position, that position of power?
Oh, he left.
That didn't have that
He
foresight. Yeah,
resigned.
yeah, yeah.
That
He
guy
left.
resigned.
He's gone. Yeah.
Mike, you got anything?
No, I pretty much just where can people donate stuff to? Like, do you have any like organizations or
So-
any
Super
thing that we
local,
can do?
anything like that. Divert
Local,
from the
yeah,
other
like,
people.
please, 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 not that I think anybody listening to your guys' podcast would be like, I'm going to the Red Cross or FEMA, like,
No.
and also please tell people, like, no government, like, they're not helping. Like, and
We
I don't
got that
know,
covered. Don't
maybe
worry.
they are, yeah, maybe they are, but they're not
Yeah.
helping. So I mean, I don't know if I should send you guys these links. Like, there's a
We'll share 'em.
Google. Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll send you guys the list of these links. There's a Google Doc that somebody created that you can
That's
choose
Mike's
the
department.
family. What's that?
Mike loves Google Docs. That's his department.
Mike loves good. Are
Loves
you
it.
a little Virgo or a Capricorn? What's going on over there, buddy? Yeah, I've got a few links to, like, either local families.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like the spreadsheet is kind of the best because you can, in a way, it's the best because you can choose who you donate to, but also there's another fundraiser. It's by this woman on Instagram, I think at Illuminator. It's actually, if you go to my page on Instagram, you could just click on it there. It's the Maui
There we go.
Fires fundraiser.
Yep.
And it's sick. Like, this chick, the goal was $1 million. They're already at 2.5 million now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and these are local women. Like, and one of them, she's a badass. She's like MMA or something. She's super cool, but they're gonna figure out how to distribute it the most evenly and the best. Because also, it's like there's gonna be a lot of things like just the landfill. You know, they're gonna have to figure that out, and there's gonna have to be money allocated to that, and which is kind of sad that it's like, okay, we're all donating this money to, like, go to these, like, kind of structural or foundational things that the government should be taking care of, but it's like we can't even rely on the government right now, because even, like, the military presence, like, it's stronger here now, but it's not that much, and it wasn't that much right away. And Oahu's right there. Oahu's like a 35 or 40-minute flight, and it's like, well, where was the like, wait, what? It's just like the response time. That's what's making it look so shady. You know, like, the government's like, nothing's going on, like, no conspiracy. It's like, maybe not, maybe, but the way you guys are responding and handling it is super fucking shady.
Yeah.
Like, why has the governor and the mayor not been at all of these volunteer sites right away? Like, they're taking their, like, little promo pictures by the tree in Lahaina, you know what I mean? But it's like, where the fuck are you, boots on the ground? And for sure, I know you have to, like, plan and strategize, so they're probably in meetings and this, that, and the other. Like, that's a real part of it, but it's like, it just is not adding up.
What about the Maui Humane Society? Because one thing that
Oh
gets lost in
yeah,
this
that
is
would
about
be
the
a great
animals.
one.
Is
We-
that
yeah,
pretty accurate?
Yeah,
We're hooked up
Maui
with a pretty cool, pet organization that I know we
Yeah.
might be able to help out with that.
Awesome. Yeah, the Humane Society would actually be a really amazing one. They've rescued a lot of dogs, and also,
Oh,
like that's people's family members.
Yeah.
You know, and just like, that is the biggest thing I do want to stress, is that they did not get any alerts. None of them. Nothing. Nothing, nothing, nothing. They received no alerts. And that is verified by the people that I've met. 1,000,000%.
I think it's really sad because there's a certain president who is very proud of his Hawaiian roots, and I haven't heard one effort from him trying to rally the other presidents to kind of get some boots on the ground over there and kind of
Yeah.
roll their sleeves up and help people. But
Yeah.
I think if there was another president in office that didn't respond, he would have been pretty much scorched to the earth. So you see a very sad double standard in our society and the way
Oh, for
things are
sure.
responded to. And it just saddens me. It doesn't matter what side of the aisle you play on. The way
Truly, yeah.
that you can take something like this and politicize it. And I just took this time to listen to you and absorb it and take it all in. And it's really kind of crazy to think that in 2023 this could really happen.
Yeah. Like, and we'll see what the final death toll is too. But it's like it's bad. And I've kind of refrained, especially the first week I was trying to not talk about it. And I like also because like I didn't really want to believe it either. You know, when I heard about the kids, like I hyperventilated crying.
Yeah.
Like that one was super like already it was heavy, but like that one to me was
Yeah.
the worst. And
Yeah.
I'm like now very much like with 1,000 people still missing and like some people are posting they're like I haven't found my child. It's like
Huh.
this far along it's kind of like
Yeah.
I don't know when you call it, you know. I don't know when like what is the timeline of like okay now we just call it and
And
admit that this many people died.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say this because I feel strongly about it. Stop giving money to these other fucking countries and keep it in the family.
Yeah.
Give it to Americans. Keep
Yeah.
it here. We have the
Americans.
resources. Shut
Yeah.
it down and bring it in.
1,000,000%. Like it makes absolutely no sense. Even at the beginning of this year with all those train derailments that had like crazy chemicals and stuff, it's like, oh, you mean in the heart, like these chemicals spilled in the heartland of America where most of our produce is grown. It's where most of our food comes from. And the water's still toxic in those areas. And the government's like, but we got to send money to Ukraine, which like also I would just like to, if nobody's ever heard of or read The Art of War, great book. Great book. The number one principle in The Art of War, which like Mao used it, Napoleon used it. Like it's like a how-to guide basically. The number one principle in The Art of War is that all warfare is based on deception. So I definitely don't believe that the war in Ukraine is what they say it is. Like 0% chance.
Agreed.
Especially not after we just got out of like a 20+ year war and left like $7 billion worth rearming the Taliban. Like, get out of here.
It's also kind of funny too that Canada had an outbreak of wildfires, and now Maui has some wildfires, and just I can never recall so much interesting environmental events happen in 1 year.
Climate change. Climate change.
I find it disgusting. He asked for like what 24 billion or something the same week that this happened is just disgraceful.
Yeah, I
Disgraceful.
think and like yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. And I think he was saying that he would give Maui 12 billion and like this is not like please whoever correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Because I very well might be. But he was gonna give Maui $12 billion. But the stipulation was as long as we sent 24 billion to Ukraine. Like it's things like that. And I'm like, I hope I'm wrong about that. That's the thing. Like most of these things, I hope I'm wrong. Like, please God, let me be wrong.
These things drive Mike and I crazy.
But it's yeah, I'm just like that if that's not blatantly obvious, I don't know what more some people need.
I hate saying this because I don't mean it in a bad way. I know you'll understand what I'm saying. I hope this is just another wake-up call for Americans. I hate to say it because of the people that it affected, but this has to be another wake-up. Wake up.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like, it's sad that it takes this sometimes. So it's like, please let it be a wake-up call for two reasons. Like, wake up that your government is not doing everything they can to help and support you. And also wake up when we work in community together, when we don't allow this crazy division, because it is people from all races, creeds, backgrounds, religions, whatever. It's all of us coming together. Like we are really all we need. And humans are so innovative and brilliant. There's limitless solutions, you know, exponential potential. So it's like, we actually can take more of our power back and be more sovereign. Like it requires more responsibility, but it's so much sweeter.
That was well said. Well
Thank
said.
you.
I can't thank you enough for taking the
Thank you
time for
guys.
this. We
Thank
wanted,
you
we really
guys.
wanted to share the firsthand experience of a local and someone that's lived there for a long time and sees with their own eyes what's going on. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you guys. This is really awesome. And I'll send those links.
Yeah, we're gonna share them with everybody. And where can, for the people listening, where can they find you if they want to follow you on your IG?
If you want to hear me talk shit about how much I hate the government, and if you want to see me being a shepherdess, I'm on Instagram. 123 Humblebee. LOL. Yeah, you'll see me and my sheep. I'm about to buy more.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Mike, you good?
I am good, Jocelyn. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, of course, guys.
Sharing this was very enlightening,
Yeah.
and I took it all in, and just we'll keep praying for you and for the
Thank
people in
you.
Hawaii, and we'll definitely get that out there, and hopefully we can play a small part in something
Yeah.
Thanks.
that is affecting every real American that loves this country and
Yeah.
empathizes to what you guys are going through.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
And
Thank
yeah,
you.
Maui Humane Society.
Absolutely. We're gonna talk
Oh,
to our friends to see what we can get going for that, because Mike
awesome.
and I spoke earlier this week and they're game. So we're gonna try to link them up
Cool.
and get it going. So thank you.
Awesome. Because I think they're taking like service animals too to these shelter sites for people.
Wow. Yeah. Understood.
So, yeah.
Listen, stay safe out there,
Thank
and
you.
we would love to have you on as a follow up to see kind of the progress, what's going on down the road. And if you need anything, give us a holler, and we will be in
Awesome.
touch with
Thanks,
all the
guys.
stuff. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being good, strong, masculine men that we need like so desperately in this country. Like to all the masculine, like you are so appreciated and loved. Like please know that not everybody in society is like, fuck men, like love masculine men. You guys are awesome.
Thank you for saying that. We really
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Super
Thank you.
appreciate you guys.
Love you.
Love you guys.
Bye.
Bye.